Hi, good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to be talking about area of triangles. So just quickly to review, this week you have 5 lessons. You have one on simple probability, one on making predictions, and then you have area of triangles, circumference, and then area of circles. And then if you successfully complete all of that, you are done. Please remember that all of your Imagine Math lessons are due by June 30th. Now, this date is very important. You have to finish by this date. First thing we want to do is look at some vocabulary. A triangle is just a 3-sided polygon. There's just a 3-sided shape where the lowercase b stands for the length of the base and the h stands for the height of the triangle. Now, this next part is very important. The height always makes a right angle with the base of a shape. Notice how this right here is the base with our right angle, or excuse me, the height with the right angle. This is not the base, or this is not the height, because you don't stand at the doctor leaning trying to get your height. Your height is always straight up and down, and it will always make a right angle with the base. So if I have a triangle that looks like this, say I make this the base, well, my height would be something that looked like this. Even though it's not touching the base, if I kind of extend that base a little bit longer, it makes a right angle with it. It has to go from the vertice of the opposite angle to the base at a 90-degree angle. Same idea if I do something like this. Say I say this is my base right here, and then I give a height of 12. My base is not always going to be the bottom side of my triangle. It is going to be whatever side that height makes a 90-degree angle with. Our next vocabulary word is area. Area is the size of a surface in square units. It's kind of how much space a 2-dimensional object takes up. Now we want to discover the formula for an area of a triangle. So I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. Now I can find the area of that entire rectangle by multiplying the length of the base times the height. But if I make a diagonal cut across the rectangle, I now have 2 congruent triangles. So if I only wanted to find the area of one of the triangles, I would have to take 1/2 the area of the rectangle, which was base times height. Now the same thing works if I look at a parallelogram. The area of a parallelogram is still base times height. But if I cut it into 2, I still have 2 congruent triangles. So the area of that triangle would still be 1/2 the length of the base multiplied by the height. So what do we know about triangles? There are a couple different ways to find the area of our triangle. We're always going to use our formula, which is 1/2 length of the base times the height. Taking half of something is the same as dividing by 2. So I could also say area is equal to base times height divided by 2. I prefer to use this version of the formula just because with the commutative property, it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. So sometimes I might have something like 1/2 of 27 times 20. Well, I know it's easier to take half of 20, and since it doesn't matter what order I multiply in, now I can say 10 times 270. Excuse me, 10 times 27 is 270. So it just makes it easier and flexible thinking. Our first example, let's say I have a triangle that looks like this. So my formula would be area is equal to 1/2 length of the base times the height. When I'm identifying my pieces of the triangle, I notice there's my right angle, so that's my height. 12 is my height, which would make 21 the length of my base. So I have 1/2 length of the base, which is 21, times the height, which is 12. And again, since it does not matter what order I multiply in, I'm going to take 1/2 of 12 because I know that that is 6. Now 6 times 21, come over here and show my work. Get 126. So notice I did not give any units for this. So I'm just going to say 126 units. And since it's area, that would be units squared. Okay, our next triangle. Again, the first thing I want to think of is, all right, I'm going to area my triangle. So I would write the formula. Area is equal to 1/2 length of that base times the height of the triangle. So when I'm going to find the length of my base, I see that this right here makes that right angle. So this is automatically going to be my height, which would make 16 the length of my base. So when I substitute my values in, I will have 1/2 of the length of the base, which was 16, times the height of the triangle, which was 1.5. Notice our height was the straight up and down right angle and not that slant height right there.
Yes.
Good. So when I take 1/2 of 16, what do I get?
8.
Good. So 8 multiplied by 1.5. I'm going to come over here and show my work. So I get the area is equal to 12. And again, I did not provide units, so I will just say units squared. Are there any questions about that example? Example 3.
Go down here and get your internet. You're not going to do that while you're doing homework.
This is my class.
That is your class? Oh, okay. I thought it was your friend.
Oh my
I
god.
thought you were doing your friend. I was like, no.
All right. Boys and girls, who remembers the formula for area of a triangle? So if you ever forget, think about how you would find area of a rectangle, which is base times height. And then if we cut it in half, I get 2 triangles. So I just take half of the base.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I'm looking at my triangle, the length of that base, who thinks they know the value of the length of the base of the triangle? Anybody? I'm going to say that our base is 13, which means our height, which is what forms that right angle right here, is going to be the 10.6.
Yes.
So I can substitute that into my formula, which is 1/2 the base times the height. Half of 13 multiplied by 0.2, which is my height. Now I know half out of 13 gives me a decimal, but I also know that 10.2 is going to be easy to take that back. So I'm going to take 13 times 5.1 because it does not matter what order I multiply in. I'm going to say, show my work. So we get 66.3. So our area would be 66.3 units squared. Are there any questions about this? So this is just a kind of an example of what we were just doing. So we take the base, we multiply it by the height, and then we take 1/2 of it. The most important thing to remember is our formula is 1/2 length of base times the height. If you forget what this is, you're able to find it in the formula portion of a math class. Great. What should we know about the area of the triangle? So this area is a right triangle, and it's half the area of which rectangle? So if I'm looking at the triangle right here, what's the length of the base? What would the length of the base of that triangle be? Anybody? Okay, the length of our base right here would be the 12. And since we know this is a right triangle, that means that this is a right angle, which would make the 5 the height. Then I need to find the rectangle that has a base of 12 and a height of 5. Does this triangle match?
No.
Does that triangle match? Does that rectangle match or triangle? That first one? I don't think so, because I see a 13 right there, and I need it to be a 12. What about this rectangle? I see we have a 12, so that's good, but does the 13 match the 5 we need? No, it doesn't. Now the third one, I see the length of our base is 12 and the height is 5, so this looks good so far. And we look at our last one, and 13 is long, so it's 17, so it does not match. So the rectangle that matches the triangle would be that
What'd you
third. Are there any questions on this?
What you doing?
Right? What do I know about the area of the triangle? So Alicia is taking sails for a house ship, and each sail is a triangle with the same perimeter. Which sail has the same area? So I'm going to write my formula up here so I do not forget. So it's 1/2 length of the base multiplied by the height. I'm going to start with this triangle. So 1/2
I have my AirPods in.
length of my base. My height is 3, make that triangle. Base times 3 is 24. So then half of 24 is 12. So this area is 12 feet squared. And now I'm going to look at the next one, where I have my formula, which is 1/2 length of 6 times the height. My base is 6. And my height is, make it right into right there, 5.2. I'm going to take half of 6, which means now I'm multiplying 3 by 5.2, which gives me 15.6 squared. So I see automatically that this 15.6 feet squared is greater than the 12 feet squared. So I'm going to cross this one off.
Oh.
Now, I want to work with the last one. So my formula is 1/2 length of the base times the height. Now this one is a little bit trickier because it's not necessarily sitting on the base. I noticed right immediately that this 2.7 is the distance of that segment that forms a right angle with this side right here. Now we always need to remember that our height forms a right angle with our base. So that this 8 is actually our base. And this 7 will be our height. Half of 8 is equal to 4. Now we're multiplying 4 times 2.7. If I get my calculator. We get 10.8. 10.8 feet squared, which is still less than this 15.6 feet squared. So this triangle right here has the greatest area. Are there any questions about this one? So what do I know about the area of this triangle? This map shows the dimensions of 5 counties in the Midwestern states, which expression gives the area of Adams County. Adams County is right here. Well, I know that this is 18 right here. And if that's 18, then this distance of Adams is also 18. So now I just need to find this distance that makes the right angle. I see that that is the same distance as over here. So my height is 10. So for my extension, I'm going to substitute the values into my formula. So my formula for area of the triangle is 1/2 length of the base times the height. So my base is 18 feet. And my height was 10. Half of 18 is 9. 9 times 10 is 90, but they didn't necessarily want me to solve it. They just wanted the expression, which would match with this last one right here. Are there any questions on this one? Right.